My name's Katie Masters and I am the owner of Nail Thoughts Nail Salon in Salon Republic, Santa Monica, and today we are doing turquoise marble nails. Okay, so basically what I'm doing is I'm getting rid of all of her cuticle. So the cuticle grows onto the nail and I just expose the skin by pushing the cuticles back. And now what I'm doing is I'm going across the edges of the nail and getting rid of all of the cuticle and the dead skin. This is way less invasive than nippers, and it definitely leaves a much cleaner finish on the nail. Now I'm gonna do shaping, and I feel like the most important part with shaping is flipping it to see the actual client view. So this view could be all straight to me, but then if you don't check it this way, that's their view, because think about it, if they look at their nails like this, one could be crooked and you wouldn't know, so that's the most important part. No matter how short or long their nails are, I feel like that's the most important part to check. That's all I gotta say about that, pretty much. Time lapse. Okay, so now I'm gonna get a bunch of the colors out for the marble design. I'm picking out a bunch of greens. One is really sheer and then two are opaque, and then a white and then a gold for the border. So I'm gonna start with this very sheer color. It ends up kind of looking like nothing, but then once we start mixing all of the rest of the opaque colors into it, it ends up looking more in depth. So it's a very, very sheer green. You kind of work with the wet gel. So I'm not gonna cure a couple of these fingers at a time and just kind of put a bunch of the gel and lay it down in it while it's still wet, because it gives you that effect that you really want, where it's just kind of whimsical in a way. So I'm gonna take a lighter kind of army looking green and then kind of a darker green, I guess. It's kind of like a bluish green. And then I'm going to honestly just blob it on. I feel like the trick with marble is you can't think too hard, because otherwise if you think too hard, you're just gonna spend way too long on it and you're gonna end up messing it up because you're thinking too much. So I have a tiny bit on my brush and I'm gonna kind of just, blend it in, I guess. Don't do any sort of straight line, don't do anything super precise, because you want the marble to look a little bit, you want it to look very natural and not super forced, because I find that if you do too straight of lines, it just ends up kind of looking like a weird geometric design, or especially if you're doing black and white marble, it ends up looking like zebra print. So you kind of really want to blend it out and just blob it on. And then if you did put a little too much, the gel is still wet, so you can kind of swipe it with the brush a little bit. And you can still move it around to make little swipes, but again, if you move it around too much, then it won't look good. I cured all of them after I did all of the green designs, and I'm taking just a small little striper brush and doing little accent white lines, but not too much because you don't want it to take over. So I'm just gonna do the same thing, just a bunch of kind of very squiggly lines, because if you make it too straight, then it won't look normal, I guess. So yeah, and you can do all 5 at a time, all 5 fingers at a time, because this gel specifically is very pigmented and it's not really gonna run or anything. So basically what I'm doing with the brush is just kind of making, each nail is gonna be slightly different. You don't want all the white lines to look the same on all of the fingers, because then you could really tell. So I'm basically just kind of doing this with my brush. I'm not doing any sort of crazy straight lines, so I'm doing a lot of very squiggly lines. Honestly, the more messy, the better. Before I cure it, I'm gonna take another small brush and almost brush the lines, the white lines downwards to kind of create a sort of blurred effect and to make them less pronounced. So I'm basically just going on the edge of the white line and just brushing all of the excess white down. And then also when I brush down on the white lines, I'm really focusing on the very thick areas, like the very thick areas of the white line. The thin areas don't necessarily need to be brushed down that much and blurred that much. It's just the more thick parts, because otherwise it won't look as gentle and natural if you left really thick squiggly lines. I don't have anything on my brush. There's no sort of alcohol or anything. I'm literally just brushing it down with nothing. With a lot of my marble designs, I feel like, especially ones that have so much depth and so much different color in it, I want to almost soften the look, and the trick to that is literally just going over it in a very sheer white. You can also use a sheer green, you can use whatever sheer color you want, but I feel like the sheer white really calms everything down. So that is what I'm gonna do, and it kind of blends out the colors in a way, and again, just kind of softens the look to look a little less stark green. And again, I'm just putting a super thin layer of the sheer white on top, because you don't want it to completely encase all of the green and then you can't see it. So I cured the sheer white, and now to kind of finish it, I like to do this with a lot of my marble designs because I feel like it frames it in a way. It just finishes it to make it almost look like a piece of jewelry or some sort of ring. What I'm gonna do is I am going to take my tiny little brush and go around the cuticles with this sort of metallic golds. I could do a border around the nails as well, but that tends to look a little better on longer nails, and since she has a little bit of shorter nails, it almost looks better to just hang out at the cuticle with the gold. Okay, and we are done. Here's the finished product. Basically, we just did a bunch of blobs and swirled them around. Didn't think too hard. And then encased it in the milky sheer white to soften the look. And then added some gold cuffs to make it look framed and finished. If you have any questions, feel free to message me. My Instagram is @nailthoughts, like thinking thoughts. And yeah, I'll for sure answer them, or you can comment in this video. Thanks for watching.